Here's an AFN News Update. I'm Bronson Woodruff. Florida's storm-battered Gulf Coast raced against a now Category 4 hurricane Monday as workers sprinted to pick up debris left over from Helene 2 weeks ago, and highways were clogged with people fleeing ahead of the storm. The center of Hurricane Milton could come ashore Wednesday in the Tampa Bay region, which has not endured a direct hit by a major hurricane in more than a century. Scientists expect the system to weaken slightly before landfall, though it could retain hurricane strength as it churns across central Florida toward the Atlantic Ocean. That would largely spare the other states ravaged by Helene, which, we're told, has now resulted in the deaths of at least 230 people on its path from Florida to the Carolinas. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said on Monday that it was imperative for debris from Helene to be cleared ahead of Milton's arrival, so the pieces cannot become projectiles. More than 300 vehicles gathered debris on Sunday. As evacuation orders were issued, forecasters warned of a possible 8 to 12 foot storm surge in Tampa Bay. A National Hurricane Center spokesperson said that's the highest ever predicted for the region and nearly double the levels reached 2 weeks ago during Helene. The Israeli military said today that it killed a senior Hezbollah commander in a strike on Beirut, while the militant group's acting leader promised more fighting against Israeli troops in southern Lebanon and rocket fire into Israel. The military said the strike killed Suhail Husseini, who it said was responsible for overseeing logistics, budget, and management of the group. There was no immediate comment from Hezbollah. The acting leader of Hezbollah said in a defiant televised statement that his group's military capabilities are still intact. He said that Hezbollah has replaced all of its senior commanders after weeks of heavy Israeli airstrikes across large parts of Lebanon, including targeted strikes that killed much of its top command in a matter of days. Palestinian terrorists in Gaza fired a barrage of rockets into Israel on Monday, the anniversary of Hamas's October 7th attack, underscoring Prime Minister Netanyahu's declaration that the Israeli military will continue its operation until Hamas is completely defeated. Commemorations and protests unfolded across the world on Monday to mark the anniversary of the October 7th Hamas massacre of more than 1,200 Israeli men, women, and children. Those divisions were visible in New York, where a crowd gathered for an evening remembrance ceremony that was in Central Park, even as pro-Hamas protesters converged on a corner of the park less than a mile away. In New York, anti-Israel protesters spread a large Palestinian flag on a street near the New York Stock Exchange early Monday afternoon, while a smaller group of counter-protesters held an Israeli flag. The pro-Hamas group grew to a blocks-long column as it marched through Manhattan streets, at one point holding a banner that read, "War begets war," on the steps of the New York Public Library. The Supreme Court on Monday rejected a challenge from Republican state lawmakers in Pennsylvania. They were challenging a Biden administration executive order that is intended to boost voter registration. The justices did not comment on rejecting an appeal from the Republicans, who claimed the order is an unconstitutional attempt to interfere in the November election. Lower courts had dismissed the lawsuit. 9 Republican secretaries of state and 11 members of Congress had asked the court to step in. In May, the justices declined to take up and decide the case on an expedited basis. And that'll do it for this AFN News Update. Thanks so much for watching. Much more news is available on AFN.net. And don't forget, AFA's Share-a-thon is going on this week. Hope you'll consider calling in or going online to make a donation to help AFA continue in its mission. I'm Bronson Woodruff.